Why do we eat together at a table? This is something you do and you are essentially forced to do since you were a kid. These are something that you instinctively just think it's okay, but like many other things that you just accommodate yourself to without the deep thinking part, it really is something purely illogical, okay? Why do we eat together at a table? The whole purpose is to ingest the food, to eat, even if it's for pleasure. The thing is, the things that we do at the table, the social gathering, even if it naturally occurred throughout history in our biological evolution, even if it was something needed at some point for the sake of the small cave societies and just groups of people that needed to coexist together to survive. I guess nowadays, in a sort of a small retrospective, or a long retrospective, I may say, we can just see how the act of eating completely contradicts the act of socializing. Nowadays, there's far more content that can be expressed in any single phrase, and there's always a compromise when we also need to ingest the food. Someone just doesn't get to say something, someone's interrupted. The worst part, and something I just can't fucking stand, just the sounds of people eating and having to look at it while they're stumbling on their own words because they're eating at the same time, and this sometimes goes by the dozens. And some people just never get to participate because there are just some more vocal ones, and those then at the end need to spend more time eating, and no one can get off the table because they're still eating, and because that would be like a bad education, I guess. It's just so contradictory, especially since when it comes to the gastric system, we see natural repugnancy to it. So somehow, even though it would be far more logical to eat on your own and have the social gathering afterwards or before or something like that, so you can easily make each one of those activities better and faster and just pretty much better and more nuanced in every regard. We still do them by osmosis of something that's from the past. Even if it's completely contradictory, it's just probably, this is to me, the most visceral aspect, the most visceral attenuation of the naturalistic fallacy. I mean, why do you need at all to eat with another people? Just because this needs a review. This needs a review to be cancelled. This doesn't make any sense. If anything, seeing someone else eat, being forced to glance at it, at listening to the sounds and everything that comes from that activity, that conjunction. For me, it's just the second. It's like the second most disgusting thing a human body could make, right? Or any body at all. Because if the most disgusting thing is the end of the gastric system, the second most would be the beginning, right? And you're just forced to see it all, and I just hate it, and I can't see how you can go through an entire lifetime just thinking it's normal. It's a side effect of the biological history of humanity that's ended up like this. If anything, other animals don't really eat together because, or even when they do, they don't have to compromise an entire other social gathering due to communication that happens at the same time. If anything, animals eat together because normally they have to share a carcass. Or even if they are more social animals, and they go side to side, it's more because the group needs to be together just not to be lost in the wild and be hunted by a bigger predator, or even for the sake of heat alone. But they never do it the way we do it. We have no reason to continue partaking in this very common activity. It just doesn't make any sense at this point. And when we rise as a society from 100 years from now, we need to review back this and a lot more contradictory factors of just regular day events that we just came to accept. It's so dumb. I'm actually mad at it, and I've been mad at it for the longest time. It compromises so much. I just want to eat, please. I just want to grill. I just want to grill and go away, and then just do the other thing. In fact, in my post-humanist society, or well, on our way there, when we're still human, I guess, I'd probably just make it so during the weekdays, everyone is forced to eat fuel. Human fuel has all the natural ingredients, has all the necessary components at the average amount you need to sustain yourself, and then only at the weekends you can actually enjoy food. Why? Because even just the act of cooking, even just the act of having to look towards to thinking about what you're going to eat every day is also so counterproductive. What do you gain from it? If anything, guarding the saving the times you actually want to eat for pleasure for a specific time, that would be so much smarter. You get to enjoy the thing more instead of having to locate it every single day, having to think about it just sacrificing something else for the thinking of it. It should be reserved to as something that's done for pleasure, I guess, instead of being doused little by little every day and needed to be thinking about, that ingredient, this ingredient, now I have to cook for like half an hour, then half an hour again. No, just eat Yule every day of the week, and then at the weekend, you get to enjoy eating. That sounds to be the most, the smartest thing without sacrificing anything. And I say the same thing for social gatherings. Just eat because you need to. Just because you actually need to. Because you need to ingest something to keep being alive and keep being healthy. That's it. That's literally all you need to do. The social gathering is not needed. The pleasure part can be distributed way more sparsely and way more conductively in a way so it doesn't bother your routine. And I don't understand how we can... How long have we... I really think, before AI, when we're just like on the cusp to way there, just when we're on the transition phase from life 2.0 to 3.0 or whatever you want to call it, like life 2.5, we can review all of these things. We can just review every single contradiction and just fix it. Because at that point, I probably will have some sort of peer-to-peer or just overall cloud consciousness capable of communicating into each other, so that we don't have to agree and disagree on a never-ending web array of things that it never get anything changed, essentially. That we can just, okay, this doesn't make any sense, let's change it to make everything better, because now, as a hive mind collective consciousness who retains individuality to peer-to-peer communication, we are able to really see that both the whole and the individual did not benefit from these things. And yeah, maybe it's going to require some evolution. Maybe it's going to require for the humans of tomorrow not to be the humans of today. But you're going to see how I am right in just about like 50 years, like 20, 50 years. It really... Coronavirus is like going to speed things up. Like things like this, forcing people to stay at home. People still eat together at home, obviously. But the distance, I'm also talking about the distance, the work distance. Now you don't have to... probably the level of the number of lunches, of dinners with work people is going down, and probably in due time people are going to see just how necessary they are, as well as a lot more human touch and stuff like that. You really don't need it, and coronavirus is just one tiny little piece that's going to make the transition to both transhumanism and, as such, into posthumanism just that tiny bit faster. And I don't abide by any of this, but that's kind of what is necessary. Little bursts like this. I just wish there was no culprit, and if something that can force society to move to a more logical, sounder plane that doesn't have any culprit, because it just naturally originates from the clocks and clangs that are so many that can't truly be noticeable, that the incomprehensible large system of humanity naturally produces. So that, now we understand. We don't need all this stuff. We can work remotely way more than we thought we did. And this can be applied to so many other social things, like eating together. You don't need it. You can eat and then have the social gathering. Both would be better. Both would be faster. And you don't really need to think a lot about it if you would do it that way. So let's just stop and let's just accept that there's a lot of logical incongruencies with the way we do things. I don't think we need all of this. So probably gonna do. I have a whole list of ideas. I call them vlog ideas, but I'm not recording myself, so I don't know what this is. It's just like a little rant. But I have a lot more ideas just to post them, I guess. I don't promise they'll be any good. In fact, I legitimately think they're all, even if they're interesting ideas, they're going to be terribly said by me. But I don't really have time to think otherwise if I want to put anything out. I don't even really want to edit this. Yeah, maybe this will just be as is, and you'll just have to deal with it or something.
Hello, Dr. Freeman.
So here's the thing, I don't understand how can people just eat together. We have just been doing this since, a certain point of the civilization, but it's something that, in retrospect, is so irrational that, when you have food in your mouth, you just can't speak properly. Yet, we function in a way where we make it a social event where everyone is just sitting right next to each other, multiple people, dozens sometimes, just fucking starting their gastric system's process, while at the same time putting conversation in day and discussing all sorts of events. And that's probably the most contradictory thing we just repeat. We just do it in almost as a spasm. We don't think about it. We just do it. It's just a virus that's been implemented anachronically from so long ago, and we just act on it. We don't have to just fucking eat together. Perhaps in these isolationist times, we will fucking finally understand that when we're all together just eating, both the eating of the thing you are eating and the conversation you want to have both suffer. It all needs to be either stopped, slowed down, or as for the conversation become completely superficial or just constantly interrupted. Why not just eat first, alone or whatever, and then have the events that you want to communicate, have your social thing right afterwards? It's so fucking ridiculous. Plus, just hearing everyone, even if it was just eating alone and without being a social event, even if you gathered people together, just being, it's the gastric system. Eating is the second most disgusting thing your body does after shitting. So why would you just be next to other people, listening to their eating noises, seeing all that shit? It's the most fucking retarded thing that we participate in. Why do you keep doing this? I hereby announce that we should just go against our most primal, just this primitive behavior of ours and replace it by something more thoughtful, because this is something that I want to end, these cultural non-thinking behaviors. I don't think they belong in the future. I think they need to die, and I think we need to do it as fast as we can, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Have you ever thought about just how contradictory it fucking is? You probably didn't think about it. You've been isolated, bombarded by the casual actions of other people just perpetuating this stupid behavior, and you never thought about it because for most of your life these people are your superiors, people that you just don't question as an authority. And this can be applied to so many things, but it just perpetuates itself. It's more of a condition that can be used by others. Restaurants, like, yeah, you go eat at a restaurant, but it's also done as a social event type of thing, right? So they just utilize that virus, that human virus that's been implemented in a culture, just to perpetuate the act of socializing through eating. Problem is, if you eat, you shouldn't fucking speak. If I remember correctly, that is something we're told as we're kids, but somehow we perpetuate the things that makes someone speak and eat and talk at the same time, which can sometimes be hazardous and can actually be dangerous. So it's pretty ridiculous to me that there's just no end to this thing. We just repeat it over and over and over, and we don't question it. How many? You just have to realize you're in water, and I want you to think about all the cultural aspects, either from your country or more universal, that you just never really thought about. Those type of things that are just ingrained in you, and you just didn't question it, and you repeat it ad nauseum, ad infinitum. Am I the only one who thinks this way? Am I the only one who gets ridiculously annoyed by the noises people make, by the time it takes
to eat with other people by by the conversation suffering a big hit and becoming so superficial and never going to any of the nuances of the events being communicated in these social events also. And or the very fact that just eating becomes annoying, because even if you want even if you want to speak about something, you have to eat, or even if you want to eat, you already started speaking. So now you have your opportunity because someone can speak over you at any time. It's ridiculous. It's the most stupid thing we do. Well, obviously not the most. It's dumb. Why do we do this? It's so stupid. It's stupid. It's literally illogical. It goes against. I unquestionably hate. I unquestionably would just stop this the sooner we can. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I have a friend who told me that should you start mankind again, this behavior would just naturally occur. But that's not my point. Of course, this behavior would naturally occur. You can go back to hunter-gatherers, and perhaps in their limited lifespan, in their limited time together, this would be the one time that they could communicate in their very, 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 very simple gestures, not like all the ideologies we have nowadays that actually have nuance, as when we speak together at the eating table. So my whole point was he had to regress the whole society, he also had another opinion. If you nuked everything, and that we just are in fucking Mad Max land, we are in post-apocalypticum. We are just have a wasted world, blank canvas. And he said, yeah, no, in that world, we will just eat together again. It's just a natural event. It's part of humanity. It's part of our DNA. We'll just do it again. But my point was, in order for this to perpetuate, you had to nuke the entire fucking planet. You had to return humanity to like a primal state in order for this to make sense again. And I'm just saying, obviously this is all in retrospect. This is something you do today. This is something that you realize, and this type of things, is something that you have to think right now. You shouldn't need to just almost animalistically try to defend this point by forcing the world into a natural primal state by destroying everything. I think that just points out how truly irrational this behavior is. Because now you have the time to think. Now you have the things to talk about, and you even then don't think about it. Just participate in this repetitive behavior where both activities get a hit and it's just part of the society. And in order to perpetuate it, you just have to not think about it, because the more you think about it, the more ridiculous it becomes. And and like I said, this type of I really feel long term, this type of cultural things, even if it ends up being on a more antisocial sphere, these type of things are really going to end in one day. And my friend was like, no, that's bad and antisocial. And I'm just like, well, if parts of culture like this are going to end anyway, why instead of perpetuating for as long as possible, we don't just act on it as soon as we can, in the most interesting, in the most peculiar ways, so we can actually find out how to gain efficiency from new social behaviors that can arise in our now society, as opposed to perpetuating this forever and forever forever excusing it. That it's part of just our nature. Our nature is to change. Like, nature of humanity is to change, and of culture is to change. That's the most stable variable in humanity's history is change. That's the X. So this is another thing I'd like to change. It's if we just consumed food one way and had discussion events in another, both would be faster, both would be more productive, both would be more nuanced. It is a net negative to remain as we are today in this specific convergence of actions. So, if you have any doubts about this type of social events that you think are irrational, just keep having those doubts, because they'll perhaps be formative in your future ideology, and you'll be one step ahead, I think.